for the year of 2024 is a grand rising. And this month, our focus is giant gentleness. Today's message, and I'm picking up on a theme. Every now and then we have these song titles showing up. So today's message is taking it to the streets. Does that sound familiar to you? It should. It will be given by our wonderful spiritual director, Charlene Banks. We are so glad that you took some time out of your day to join us here. Please feel free to add to the chat or the comments any prayer concerns or celebrations that you would like us to include later in our service when we do our spiritual mind treatment, which is a form of affirmative prayer, and that will follow right after our message. So that's all I have to say to get things started. Sit back, take a deep breath, you made it, and enjoy our welcoming video.
Please join us as we create our sacred space. We set our intentions of deepening into our awareness and practice of our 5 pillars of spiritual living by lighting this candle in our virtual world. Our first pillar is sacred study, represented by the divine quality of truth. We use this pillar to recognize the importance of an open mind and the power of our minds. The second pillar is affirmative prayer, represented by the divine quality power. This pillar honors the power of prayer in our daily lives. Our third pillar is meditation and the divine quality of peace. This pillar reminds us of the importance of meditation and the peace we feel when we quiet our minds. The fourth pillar is circulation and the divine quality of light. We know that the great law of circulation works in our lives. As we give, so shall we receive. And the fifth pillar is sacred service and the divine quality of love. This pillar affirms our call to be of service to our world as we see through the eyes of love. Let us close our eyes as we bless the sacred space and our time together. As we weave each of these pillars of spiritual living into our service today, may they deepen our own spiritual practices of study, prayer, meditation, circulation, and service, expanding our minds and our hearts to the 5 divine qualities of truth, power, peace, life, and love. We also bless everyone who made our service possible today and everyone in attendance. May the energy of love that is generated here bless everyone abundantly. And so it is.
All right, folks. So now it's time for meditation. And if you're a regular here, you know that I have a favorite meditation that I like to do once a month. It's the loving kindness meditation. So I'm going to invite you to join me with that. And I'm hoping that by doing this once a month, that this is something that goes into your meditation library, and you can pull it up and you can use it anytime that you feel that you might need it in your life. So here we go. And I'm going to turn that down. That's a little loud on my end. We have to have nice, soft, gentle background music. So I'd like to invite you just to sit in your chair and plant your feet on the floor and just begin by taking a deep breath and relaxing your body. Maybe you want to relax your shoulders, your neck, your leg muscles, anywhere where you might be carrying a little bit of tension or some stress from the week. And let's take a deep breath in again. And hold. And release. Let's do that one more time. So we're going to take a deep breath in. Hold. And release. All right. So if you're familiar with this meditation, and odds are you know this, I'm going to say a phrase and then you just repeat it after me. Here we go. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. May I be happy. All right. Now, I want you to think of somebody who needs a little loving kindness in their life. And let's send this message out to them. It could be somebody who's nearby, or you know how we're all connected, right? So let's just send it out to that person. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. May you be happy. Now, here's the challenging one. I want you to think of someone who's maybe just rubbing you the wrong way. You're having a little agitation, a little friction in your life with this person. Odds are this person is not in the room with you. I hope this person's not in the room with you. But we can send that message out to them because they need loving kindness too. And that's something that we can freely give at all times. Here we go. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. May you be happy. All right, it's a big old world out there. So let's send this out into the world. Imagine it's covering everyone who graces our planet. Maybe you want to target a certain area. I can think of some areas that come to mind that need a lot of loving kindness. But let's just bless all the people, all the creatures, everyone, everything that makes up our beautiful planet in honor of Earth Day, right? So here we go. May they be filled with loving kindness. May they be filled with loving kindness. May they be well. May they be well. May they be peaceful and at ease. May they be peaceful and at ease. May they be happy. May they be happy. Just take a moment as you watch that sunset. Think about peace, happiness, ease, wellness, and absolutely think of loving kindness. As I turn things over now to Dan and Eric.
Good morning.
All is well.
All is well. This is probably the most beautiful song about compassion that I've really ever heard. It's by a couple songwriters named Tom Prasado Rao and Tom Kimmel. Leah's done this, and maybe us too, but it's just so beautiful, this song. if I had you in my sights, would you ask me to remember who imagined I was right? If you witnessed my surrender, do I know what I would do? If you held me like my brother, would I see myself in you? Well, I dreamed my end was near, I was almost gone. If I dreamed that dream from here, can I still come home? If you called me, would I hear you? Would I walk away too soon? If you held me like my lover, would I see myself in you? If you held me like my mother, would I see myself in you?
Wow, beautiful. Wow, thank you for that beautiful song. And I was so happy to hear the loving kindness meditation this morning because it totally goes with this topic, taking it to the streets. And of course, I know you thought they were going to sing, taking it to the street. But it's definitely in line with what we've been talking about for the last 2 Sundays. So Melinda brought you into this whole topic, talking about gentle giantness. Awesome talk. And then Raymond last week talked about the other love, the other in love. Mine kind of takes this other and brings it not just with interpersonal, but it takes it to society. And a lot of times, I mean, I've told you guys, I've been listening to a book on Audible, and it's called Determined. And it's all about the fallacy of free will. And I remember telling you I was only a couple chapters in, but as a religious scientist, as a science of mind practitioner, I've always thought, of course, I'm always at free will. I am always at will. I can change my thinking, change my life. What is this guy talking about? We don't get to have free will. Everything, every thought that we're acting on had a precedent. It came from somewhere that can be traced all the way back to your moment of birth, or maybe the time in the womb, the way your brain fires, the neurons that trip one after another based on environmental, epigenetic, and experiential things that affect us. And so when Charlene thinks that she's being so innovative and new and groundbreaking, it's exactly what a Charlene would think given her background. And at first I was thinking, yikes, this doesn't make me special at all. I used to walk around thinking I am endowed with this thing, and everybody I meet, if they just hear about how changing your thinking can change your whole life, that they can all change their experience. Everybody can pull themselves up. Sometimes, I mean, listening to this book and looking at the science behind it, it brings something in front of my face, and it's perfect timing for this talk. What it brings in front of my face is that first of all, we have ideas of morality, and we're good and someone else may not be so good. We may look at somebody and say, oh, you made terrible choices. Look at you. Now you've done the thing that landed you in prison. Morally, we may feel a little better than someone else. But with this new understanding, yikes, it's kind of like that happened as that person's life unfolded, and my life happens as it's unfolding, and neither of us are better than the other one. We get to remove the moral high ground that some of us love to perch ourselves upon, especially in New Thought. We love to blame the victim for getting sick, for doing the things we do, and then we love to think, and I say we, and I'm casting a very wide net, because 100 years ago, when our founders found this tradition, there were mostly older white guys that had everything going for them. And so, yeah, they changed their thinking. They could change their life because they were floating on the tops of the waves. And unfortunately, the waves themselves were the backbones of everybody else they conquered. So, yeah, let's just forget that piece for a minute and just know that we don't get to feel morally superior, and we don't have to feel morally less than just because of our circumstances. That's good news. Also, the other thing is that we're all connected. One thing that the founding fathers of this tradition, not of the US, I'm not talking about them, of this tradition, and Emma Curtis Hopkins, one of the powerful women that founded this tradition as well, they did notice something, that all the ancient wisdom traditions always talked about oneness, always talked about love, always talked about how we are more alike than we're unalike. And every time we look upon the other with a sense of detachment or with an accusatory gaze, we're not doing ourselves any favors. In fact, I want to share this slide because it's so thickly, it's got a lot of words on it. So let me just share it with you real quick. This is a quote from Ernest Holmes, and he's got a small pamphlet, 10 ideas that make a difference. This one idea is really good. And it starts, it's the sort of pinnacle of my talk with you today. Life is not only where we are, it is what we are. It is in us as well as all around us. And its whole impulsion is love. Love. The universe does rest on the shoulders of love. Love is the real lodestone of life. Lodestone. I like that he said that. Lodestone. And what a lodestone is, because I had to look it up. I'm not that scientific as much as I like to think I am. It's a naturally occurring magnetic substance that helps navigators find their true north, to find magnetic north. So there are naturally occurring materials that are polarized in such a way that they point to the north. And this is the thing you return to when people are trying to navigate in the old-fashioned way. They're trying to find their way. How do you get back on track? You refer to your lodestone. It'll point you in the right way. And so we think about love. Every time I have felt separate from others, less than others, believing some of the societal trappings and judgments that others put on me, I feel a little lost. But when I go into that moment of meditation and I remember that I am love, and it's all love that we talk about all the time, every underpinning energy is based on love, the whole universe based on love. It helps me find my way. I right the ship. I get myself back on course. Yes, my journey might meander and waver, but if I keep coming back to that central point, as a navigator uses his lodestone, I too can remember I'm love and then show up in the world with love. And so I also don't get to start thinking that there's something I did to make myself better than anybody. There's no such thing. It's all love. Everything that came to me, I paid attention to it because I'm built in such a way that that makes sense to me. And so that track that I'm on makes sense to me. To compare my track to someone else's and come up short or come up better than is ridiculous because they've got their path that they're on. Now, there's a risk here. There's a risk, and a lot of science of mind, spiritual living people may take this and stop right here and say, great, so I'm on the right path, I'm doing my thing, and they're on their path, they're doing their thing. I'm not going to judge the person that's homeless, and I'm not going to judge the person that is in a lot of trouble, and I'm not going to, we can detach and then we can just stay away. But I don't think that's why we're here. That doesn't embrace love. Love is shown through compassion. And so now if I show up in the world and I take this love that I have for me, this love that I've started to feel, I remove the blame and the shame from other people when they have conditions that I wouldn't have chosen for myself. I remove that and I start to see, well, they probably didn't wake up one day and decide, you know what? I think I'll just rob a bank. I'll just do that. That's not a new thought that came to them. Typically, there's a path that they were on that every next step seemed logical to the brain that they have, based on the background that they have and the upbringing that they have. So if I could look at that person as not failing because you chose something, you woke up and made a free will choice and you just decided, if I look at that in a way of they probably couldn't help themselves. This is probably the natural outcome of something that was epigenetically, epigenetics. You have genetics, you're born with your XY chromosome, you have your, well, if you're a guy, I guess if you're a girl, you have both X's. Anyway, you've got all your chromosomes, and whether they express or not is based on your surroundings. Some of our genetics express, some of them don't get to express, depending on what we're exposed to. That's epigenetic. And so I can't really fault somebody because they were born a certain way. No, I cannot. Even in this day and age, we're still doing that. We are still doing something that 600 years from now, according to the author of the book, determined. He says 600 years from now, if people heed what he has written in his book, we will not have that anymore. We will not have a society that judges each other for just the way they were born or the way they turned out. We will not do that. He talks about because 600 years ago, we were burning witches at the stake. I'm going to let you think about that. Burning, let me change that, women at the stake because they were deemed to be witches. What made them witches? Well, the thunderstorm over the hill hit right by that old lady's house, the old one with no teeth, and she's not easy to look at. Must be her problem. She did it. Let's burn her. Excuse me? Right now, we look back at that and we say that is ridiculous, and how many women had to die because of the ignorance of the people, and it can make you kind of like, ugh. Well, now we know more and we realize that, well, thunder happens because, and we can get into all the weather patterns across the world. And you might think, well, that's clearly we're not doing anything like that today. Well, are we? Let's go back 50 years ago, ish, maybe 70. In the 1950s, women were still being blamed for their mothering style that caused schizophrenia in their children. Yep. Women were being blamed. You're a bad mother, and that's why your kid is doing what. Turns out that's not true. Turns out there is a physical underlying reason for the brain to do what it does to cause the symptoms that present when you have schizophrenia. I could keep going, but just know there was epilepsy fear. There were people they brought in the Catholic priests to cast out the devil because the person's convulsing on the floor. How about they have epilepsy? How about that? Like, we do not have to jump to moral reasons why people are behaving the way they're behaving. It's ridiculous now that we think of those things. And now you're thinking, well, Shar, I think we kind of solved all those things. Is that couldn't still be happening, could it? It's kind of still happening. Homosexuality, people are demonizing that, finding chapters and verse in the Bible that had nothing to do with homosexuality and making it have something to do with it so they can make it bad, so they can have these camps that try to pray the gay away. How about it's just if they did a brain scan, and I think there's emerging technology showing us there's physical underlying differences. People are born different. Why can't we get over the fact that there's a multitude of ways to show up in the world? Yes, people can exist in all kinds of skin tones and all kinds of blends of gender identity and sexual preference, and they're still valuable, lovable pieces of joy that are walking on this planet. We don't have to demonize them and make them bad and toss them out. That's where we're at. And so I'm reading this book and I'm like, wow, maybe I hope it takes less than 600 years to finally realize that somebody who was just gestated in a womb that may have been harmed by chemicals and alcohol that caused a certain arrangement of cells that don't quite fire the way that we expect them to. So when they come to school, they may have delay in learning, which caused bullying, which caused a feeling of less than, which caused that feeling of what's that, defensive, just hyper defensive, don't, hyper reactive, and I'm going to run away before I get close to people because then they can't run away from me if I run first. I mean, I'm reading about all these different situations and the compassion it's starting to grow. And I'll tell you how it felt when I just recently came back from a training session. I went last minute for reasons we'll talk about later, but I went to this HBCU in Texas. It's the Texas Southern University. Wonderful group. There were like 29 people, and some of them were online. And all of these were, as you know, HBCU stands for Historically Black College and University. It was historically Black because back in the day, Black people couldn't attend college with white people. So historically, it started out Black, and now you get a blend of people. It's not 100% Black anymore, but there were enough of us with African American background in the room that I felt so honored to be able to bring them technology ideas on how to become a leader in this new cloud thing. And I loved watching how their brains just started lighting up. And not everybody was college age. We had some grad students. We had a couple professors that were older than me in the room. And it was fun to just talk about where tech is going, what these things mean, how to take the exam, get your certification. There was one time we had some of the, I'll call them kids because most of them were younger than me. They came up to the front and presented something that their group worked on. And my heart just was like, oh, you guys. I felt this mom feeling like that I was nurturing them and I'm giving them, nudging them on their way. And it's kind of neat, no matter where they came from, all their different backgrounds, they came together for those 2 days and sat in front of me and were listening to what I had to share, me and the people that helped do the training. And I felt so honored to be able to give them a glimpse of some possibilities that they may have never encountered before. And because when people learn something, then they can choose differently. That's how we make our free will. It's not like when we're born, we're just born with a set of circumstances and we're never going to climb out. That's not the case. Because when new information is added, then more choice paths are created. And that's how you change people's lives. But I love that I went in there without this sense of, I don't think I would have had that sense anyway of, you guys, I am going to bless you with knowledge. And then, no. It was more like I get to be a growth agent. I get to give a seed or two and plant them, and then you get to nurture them and go the way you want to go. And let's stay in touch, and I'll help you go there. That's kind of cool. There was not a sense of better than or less than. There was just, these are beautiful souls that I'm in front of. What do they need? What can I give them? How can I help? That's the compassion. That's the compassion, seeing where people are from, noticing all of them, seeing that full package of love sitting right in front of you, and just trying to figure out how you can help, listening, and then speaking to the need that's in front of me. That's what I'm here to do. I love doing this on Sundays with you guys. I love doing it all through the week with technology. We're just here to give. Just keep giving in ways that we can give. So that reminds me of a story. I'm not going to read it word for word, but it is a story about a person who arrived on Earth and started walking around, and all they could see in front of them was sick people, dying people, or people who are a little bit off their rocker and kind of screaming at a tree kind of people. And they left the city. They were dropped in the middle of a city, and they saw a lot of suffering and a lot of pain. And they went out of the city walls a few miles away, and in the desert, they said, okay, God, you dropped me in the middle of this city, and all I saw was suffering and pain and things that I wouldn't want to experience that. Like, why would you create that, God? And then God said, well, I created you so you could help. And I thought, oh, that's awesome. I don't think we're supposed to look upon a world that's perfect, because it's not. But I think that when we look upon the world and look at the news, and we look at the political strife, and we look at all of the war, rumors of war, we look at earthquakes, right? New York had an earthquake. My goodness, how does that happen? All these things that are happening, we look at it and, what could I do? I'm just going to put my head in the sand and ignore it. That's an action that some people take. But what if what we're supposed to do is ask ourselves, how can I help? How can I help? Compassion is the word of the day. It's what happens when we realize we're not morally better or worse. We don't get to brag. We didn't come by this because, oh, I worked really hard. That's why I got into the Ivy League. It has nothing to do with the fact that my dad bought that library, put it on campus. No, we don't get to do that. We get to say, there but for the grace of God go I. If I do have privilege, how can I use it to help those who don't? And let me address something, because I know some of you, you're like me, and you're like, wait a minute though. So the guy who knocks the lady over the head and she falls down, we're just going to say, oh, he couldn't help himself. It's deterministic. It's not his fault. We just let him go. We just let him roam the streets. No. I still think that the institution, we have plans in place for poorly behaved people. We already know how to isolate them from the rest of society. Just as you would take your kid who's got the sniffles and keep him home. Don't send him to kindergarten if he's sneezing all over the place. Keep him home and don't let him spread his little cold. We already have rules to isolate the ill-behaved. But what we don't do with the little kindergartner is now tell him he's bad and he can't play with his toys because he has the sniffles. That's what we do. That's the added piece that I think we can all do without. We can do without telling the people in jail, well, you must deserve it. Treat them like crap and make them work for free. And let's create a prison system or a prison industrial complex that we could get free labor, and that's a little extra, and let's make them feel bad. Make them feel bad. Like, would you do that to the kid who has the cold? I remember that time when my son and I were both diagnosed with ADHD. It was a bittersweet moment. So there I was. He's about 6 years old when it first starts rearing its head. When you know it's not a toddler thing, they're expected to sit still for long periods of time, and you realize that kid just doesn't know how to do that. So I'm filling out the questionnaire about my son, and I'm like, that tracks for me. Everything that was true about him was true about me. And when I turned in the sheet to the doctor, I was like, so that's also me. She said, happens all the time. Parents come in, they get their children diagnosed, and then the parent is also diagnosed. It happens all the time. So there we were. We both, ADHD, card carrying. And then when we started taking our medication, it was just different. Each of us were different. We behaved differently. And I looked back on all the times that I tried to swat his butt. I tried to spank him out of ADHD, if that makes any sense. It's ridiculous. I looked back on it and I realized there was a medical problem, and I was trying to force him into not having that problem. And I realized it was just as ridiculous and because I had friends who would judge me. You shouldn't have him on that. You shouldn't. I'm like, it's a helpful thing. We're not going to over rely on it. He is a growing boy. He got off as soon as he grew out of it. I'm still on it. Hello. But I did end up telling them, look, would you keep glasses off of your child's face because you don't think that he needs glasses while he's trying to see the chalkboard, walking up and looking real close? You know you would get that boy glasses. Why are you making me feel bad for getting my boy some medication? Everybody was calmer. The house was calmer. Things got finished. I love the fact that God shows up in the medicine, in the prayer, in the doctors, the nurses, in society. Sometimes, yes, in the prison cell, because if a person is unsafe, we do need to remove them from polite society. And so I love this book. I recommend it to you. There's also, I was going to mention my favorite guy, Neil deGrasse Tyson. You know, I love that scientific dude, the guy that watches the stars and tells us all about physics. Well, he was interviewing the author of Determined, and I love how I was going to play this little clip from YouTube, but instead I'll just drop the whole YouTube into the chat so you can watch it on your own. But there's a part where Neil deGrasse Tyson's like, okay, I'm following you. I can kind of see how, and he kind of summarizes it all about how wrong we have it to make people morally inferior to us because of the decisions that they couldn't help but make based on their conditions of their lives. He goes, so now I guess I got to have compassion when I walk out into the streets. I guess I must lead with compassion. And the author of the book was like, yes, you got it right. And then the author also admits, I'm successful at doing that about 3 minutes out of every month. Because it's tough to just be walking around with this Mother Teresa kind of energy of compassion. But what I ask for you guys for this coming week is just to try to have some compassion for the people who are cutting you off in traffic, misbehaving, acting poorly, and then notice any time that you take too much credit for all the wonderful things you're doing. Just know that you were kind of set up this way. Be grateful for it and give back. And then as we look for people who need something, well, what can we give? Instead of judging them for being needy, let's try to find a way to have that compassion and give back to them. So I hope you got something out of that. That definitely was what I had on my heart to tell you today. Let me check to see if there are any requests for prayer. Oh, yes, absolutely. Let's go within, knowing that there's only one divine love. This universal love is present everywhere. There's no spot where there's not the love of the divine essence. And because this is true, I know that I am in that love. That is my lodestone. The love of the divine powers me, moves me, and lights my way. I know this is true for each and every one of us here in this group, knowing that we are also loved. We move through this planet in a way that shows more and more compassion. The more we know, the better we grow. And so in this moment, I speak my word for Renee's 95-year-old Aunt Gloria, knowing that in this moment, those that are helping her recover from her health issues are the hands of the divine. They are the medicine and the heart and the soul and the health and the wholeness of the divine, helping, surrounding Gloria with this love. And in this moment, I pray for Gloria to just settle in and be comfortable and just know that she's being cared for. Every cell, organ, and muscle in her body is simply vibrating with the wholeness and repairing it to the degree that she is comfortable and rested. I just feel that Gloria and everyone surrounding her is peaceful and accepting. Yes, in this energy of love and accepting, I also extend this energy of love to every human being on this planet, knowing that we are all going through exactly what we are meant to go through. And I expect us to look to each other and lift each other up and give each other exactly what we need, because it is through community that we thrive. We are not meant to be alone. We are meant to do this together. So I speak my word that everyone is attracting just the right community members, just the right support system, and that love is in abundance everywhere present. I am so grateful for knowing this truth about each and every one of us. I'm so honored to be able to speak this truth into the world and into the law. I let it go. And so it is. Ashe. And Aaron and Dan with the soul PJs. And Dan, I love the sound of that guitar. It's sounding great.
You'll laugh when we tell you later. Anyway,
Okay.
so I digress for a moment. I don't know. I can't imagine any of us don't hear in our heads the voice of Michael McDonald going, taking it to the streets, right? But so we said, okay, maybe we'll try to do that. So we did, and the first couple lines are, you don't know me, I'm your brother. We thought, oh, that's very promising. And then it goes, we're all down here in this living hell. And we're like, oh. So then we thought, okay, so it's a protest song. I don't know if you knew that. It's a protest song. So I never knew that. So then we thought, well, and now that Charlene's just said all the amazing things she said, the other side of that protest is, okay, so what are you taking to the streets that's positive, reinforcing action in the world, not just, I'm pissed and you're to blame, blaming the man in the case of that song, but, what can you do? So anyway, this is a wonderful songwriter named Harold Payne, and this is his true story song about the opposite.
I'm a humble man from a village in India. Go to the footsteps of those who came before. In this road I've traveled on, lift me up and make me strong. So when people ask me what this journey is for, if I take one step in the right direction, if I touch one heart along the way, and if that one step becomes a chain reaction, then my journey has not been in vain. I know no countries, I know no governments, I just know people who've had the joy to me. the right direction. If I touch one heart along the way, and if that one step becomes a chain reaction, then my journey has not been in vain. I get my inspiration from the words of the children, trying to teach myself what they already know. If I show my fellow man what a child can understand, then the seeds that I have sown will surely grow. If I take one step in the right direction, if I touch one heart along the way, and if that one step becomes a chain reaction, then my journey has not been in vain.
All right, come on.
If I take one step in the right direction, if I touch one heart along the way, and if that one step becomes a chain reaction, then my journey has not been in vain.
One more time.
If I take one step in the right direction, if I touch one heart along the way, and if that one step becomes a chain reaction, then my journey has not been in vain. Then my journey has not been in vain.
Oh man, I love when it all comes together. Thank you so much for that message, Charlene. Thank you so much, Dan and Aaron, especially for that last song. It reminds me of one of my favorite poems from Emily Dickinson, I Shall Not Live in Vain. And she says, if I can help one robin, just one robin back into its nest again, I shall not live in vain. Doing our part to make this world a better place for everyone. So now is the time to bless the donations that are shared today. At CSL Leesburg, we believe in the law of circulation, just like you heard in our opening video. So we are a tithing community. The donations that are shared with our center bless everyone, those who give and those who receive. Your donations help our center, our home organization, as well as organizations that support our vision of helping to create a world that works for everyone. Guys, we don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. So please look at our screen. There are so many ways to give. It's easy to find a way that works best for you. Odds are there's something that you do already, and we appreciate your support so much. So no matter how you are giving, just mentally or physically take that gift, place it over your heart, and join us in our affirmation of oneness and blessing of our gifts. The presence of spirit within me blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, brings gladness into the life of everyone I contact. Therefore, I'm a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to the day in which I live. And so it is. Just reminds me of the words in that last song, man. That's going to stay with me, Dan and Aaron. Announcements. What do we have that's going on? So Dream Study. Oh my goodness, it'll be May 4th. May the 4th be with you. I can't help it. Had to say that. On Saturday, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, join Charlene and her friends as they share and interpret their dreams. And I think that's it. That's what we have for today. If you can, please stay and hang around with us. This is always so delightful. We share what was part of the meditation or the message or the music that really resonated with you. What are your thoughts on taking it to the street? How do you take it to the street? So we catch up with each other. We talk about books as well as Determined, that book that Charlene told us about. We talk about things that need to be discussed, things that we want to share, thoughts that we have. And it's a great way just to get just a little more time. If you have to leave us because you got things on your to-do list that have to be addressed, then please know that we send you off with our blessing after we do this closing affirmation. So once again, put your hands over your heart, turn on your mics first. You know how I love to hear this. And repeat after me. I am love.
I am love.
Yay! I think that was you, Renee B. See, I can even identify you. Now, think about someone who you sent some loving kindness out to, someone who really needs that love, someone who you freely give that love to. Can be somebody on the screen, somebody in the room with you, or we know since we're all connected, we can just send this out and it travels to them. Here we go. You are love.
You are love.
Oh, that's beautiful. And now put your hands up in the air. Join me with our love sprinkles. It's all love.
It's all love.
Woo, thank you for turning on your mics. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us for today's message of taking it to the streets. If you can, if you're not taking it to the streets yet, if you can hang around with us a little bit, please stay. But if you have to go, like I said, know that we send you off with our love and our blessings. You are wonderful. You are amazing. And today's going to be a great day. See you next time.